It was the summer of 1954, the kind where the air hung thick and golden over everything, and even the dust seemed slow to fall. I spent it in my grandmother's house at the far edge of Hollows Creek, a place that smelled of lavender and mothballs, and sounded at night like the sea, though the coast was miles away. The boards in the hallway sang when you walked, and the old grandfather clock spoke in careful clicks, as though reluctant to measure time too surely. I remember mornings most waking to the muted chime of the clock, padding barefoot into the kitchen where the sunlight pooled like honey across the table. My grandmother would hum while she brewed tea, always a tune I did not know, low and lilting, but it stayed in my head long after the pot cooled. There were rooms in that house I was not to enter. Some were locked from the outside, others merely ignored, as though forgetting them was an unspoken rule. But one in particular drew me at the end of the second-floor corridor, with a door the colour of old bone, its handle cool as frost, no matter the season. She never spoke of it. When I asked once, she said only, "The room remembers." At first I didn't understand what she meant. Rooms don't remember, people do. But the way she said it made me feel small, as though the house knew something I couldn't. In the long afternoons, I would lie on my stomach in the upstairs hallway, tracing my fingers over the seam where that door met the frame. Sometimes I imagined I could hear breathing from within, soft, measured, not quite human. Once, in the glare of a late sun, I thought the handle turned ever so slightly, as if moved by a hand that stood on the other side. I told myself it was a trick of heat, though the air in that place was always strangely cold. She grew quieter as summer waned. Her humming stopped, replaced by sudden silences in which she would stand, one hand on the table, listening to something I couldn't hear. I began to feel watched, not by her, nor even by neighbours, but by the house itself. The creaks in the floor no longer followed our steps. They seemed to wander of their own accord, pacing in distant rooms. One night, I woke to the smell of the lavender sachets she kept in drawers, but thicker, suffocating, as though the plant itself had sprouted and grown into every inch of the walls. I left my bed, moving through the dark toward that pale door. The air between us was cooler than anywhere else in the house, carrying the faintest pulse of that same unknown humming tune, drawn out slower now, almost mournful. The handle turned, deliberate this time. I should have fled, but I had the terrible thought that whoever, or whatever, stood on the other side might be lonely. And loneliness, I already knew, could make you do strange things. The door opened without sound, revealing a room not dusty or abandoned, as I'd conjured in my mind, but immaculate. A four-poster bed with an embroidered quilt, curtains swaying, though the window was closed, the faint shape of a figure seated at the dressing table, head bowed. I thought it was my grandmother, but the shape was younger, her hair darker, her back straighter. Still, when she turned, I recognized her eyes, the same grey flecked with black, but they held no warmth. She smiled. It was an old smile. It felt older than the house itself. Her lips parted, and she spoke my name in a tone between calling and warning. I don't remember leaving the room, only waking in my bed with dawn scratching against the panes. My grandmother said nothing over breakfast, but when she set down my cup, her fingers brushed mine, cold as the door handle had been. That was the last summer I visited Hollows Creek. She died 2 years later, and the house passed to a cousin who stripped the wallpaper, boxed the clock, and claimed the upstairs was nothing special. But sometimes, in quiet hours, I catch that same hum at the edge of hearing, behind the walls of wherever I am. I believe now that the room didn't just remember, it waited. And I suspect it still does. For me.